Hello everyone, Miss Carrie here. On today's card making project, I'll be using a few items from my This Calls for Confetti collection. We'll be working with the Sparkle Abstract Stencil, some texture paste, and watercolors to create a stunning pastel background. I'll also be using the die from the Retro Stripes add-on collection. This collection comes with a set of stencils and dies for your card making. For my sentiment, I'm going to use the Hello die from the elongated frame die set. As always, I encourage you to use what you already have in your collection, but if you would like a list of the items I'm using, one has been provided for you in the description below, along with my affiliate link to the This Calls for Confetti shop. Let's get started with the project. We'll begin with the Abstract Confetti stencil. I'll be using black texture paste for a bold contrast against my pastel paints. I've added a little bit of paste on the left side here with a spatula, and then I'll use a plastic tool to swipe the paste evenly across my stencil. This technique minimizes waste and creates nice, crisp images. Now, if you do not have black texture paste, you could replicate this look with black embossing powder, or you could paint your design first, then apply the stenciled images with black ink over the top. Now that the texture paste has been applied, I'm going to carefully remove this stencil, and you're going to see this gorgeous black sparkly looking design. I'm going to go wash my tools and my stencil before the paste dries, and then I'll share the rest of the project with you. I let my texture paste dry overnight. I wanted to make sure that it was completely set before I brought in those wet watercolors. I'm going to start with pink. My paint palette does not have a pink color, so I'm just going to grab a little bit of red and mix it with water. I like to blend my colors on my glass board until I get the color that I'm looking for. This pastel design is going to show within an arch window. So I'm going to bring in the die real quick just to make sure that I have an idea of where these colors need to sit. When I'm working with watercolors, I always start with a lighter color and then I build up the intensity. Blending is the key here. You want to make sure that each color smoothly transitions to the next. Watercolors do require you to work in layers. You always want to let the first wash dry slightly before you add another layer of pigment. Now, if the color is too strong, you can dab it with a paper towel to soften it, or you can add some clean water to your brush and spread that pigment across the project. As I'm adding each color, I'm blending it in with the previous color so I can create a natural gradient. I started out with the pink, brought in a soft orange, then a yellow. I followed that with green. And now I'm going to add some blue-green, then a soft blue, then violet. True watercolor pigments always look much darker in the paint palette than they are once you add water to them. If you're not sure what color is going to show up, you can test your watercolors on a scrap piece of paper. I like to start with the intense pigment and slowly add water to see how light or how dark each color is. Now, as these watercolors are drying, some of them are a little bit softer than I want them to be, so I'm going to deepen a few of these areas and blend them before I dry this. If you found any of the watercolor tips that I shared with you helpful, go ahead and tap that thumbs up icon. When you do, this video gets shared with more creators like you. I am going to set this aside. While it's drying, we're going to cut out the rest of the elements for our card. I have a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of white cardstock. I'm going to cut out an arch window using the arch-shaped die. This is just a smidge smaller than an A2 size card, so I want to make sure that it's nice and centered before I secure it with mint tape. I'm going to quickly run this through my die cutting machine. The next thing I'll do is cut out the word hello from some black glitter cardstock. You can use any sentiment you wish for this card. I like to keep generic cards within my stash so that I can use them year-round. To assemble the card, I'm going to apply skinny foam tape behind that arch window layer. This is going to create a nice raised effect. If you wanted to, you could turn this into a shaker card by adding some acetate and shaker elements. The This Calls for Confetti shop is known for its shaker card pieces. They have a lovely mix of clay bits, confetti, and pearls and gems. If you're one that enjoys making shaker cards, you definitely want to check them out. I've adhered that arch over the pastel background. Isn't this such a striking contrast? I love the mix of pastels with the black and white. To make the hello sentiment stand out, I'm adding foam tape to the back. A white shadow layer would have created a nice contrast, but I like the subtle integration with the texture paste and rainbow background. For the embellishments, I'm going to use the rainbow pearl confetti. This has a wonderful assortment of colors that match my pastels perfectly. Now, it took me a moment to lay these out and figure out where I wanted them to sit. I decided to match the colors of the confetti with the colors of the watercolors so that it didn't overwhelm the eye. I also tried to add most of my confetti pieces near the sentiment to help it stand out a little bit more. To complete this design, I added a fabric bow at the top. This little touch complements this card beautifully. I encourage you to pull out your stencils, pastes, and watercolors to give these techniques a try. Card designs like this are simple to make and can be used year-round. I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope this project inspired you to try something new. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the description for the supply links. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.